but they talk about it as if it is this single problem. And if it went away, we would have no education problems, no opportunity problems, no wealth gap, no jobs, no crime. All that would go away if racism went away. But even if we say that that is the problem, the core problem in the Black community is racism, you're not going to solve it by saying racism, because you can't fix the white people. You can't deport them all. They're not going anywhere. So what are you going to do? And I haven't found anyone yet to answer that question. So definitely they talk about it too much. I mean, I think most of the time, I think people try to argue with me, but I mean, it's really nothing to argue about, because I'm giving you your argument. What you're saying, though, is that I should be hyper focused on it. And I'm saying that it won't solve the problem. What else you got? And they just say, well, you just don't understand that there's racism. But I conceded the point, and you're still trying to debate it with me, but I conceded it. Every white person's racist. Now, how do we get higher math and reading scores in the Black community? The answer to that question, I asked the question, the answer to that question can't be, well, racism. What do you mean? More of it? Less of it? Fixing it? So they're so hyper focused on it. And that's what I think the problem is. I don't mind that they're focused on it. I don't mind that they say that's one of the many problems that we face that we need to address. But they at least I can't get in their heads and say what they believe, but they talk about it as if it is this single problem. And if it went away, we would have no education problems, no opportunity problems, no wealth gap, no jobs, no crime. All that would go away if racism went away. But the proof that that's not true is that all those problems, I agree to a lesser extent, but all those problems exist in the white community. They haven't seemed to get rid of poverty and crime and unemployment and rape and being beat academically by other countries. That still happens. So if they don't live in the perfect life, there's no homeless white people. I mean, that'd be crazy. Of course there are. So if this whiteness that you say the country's centered around isn't making their lives perfect, what makes you think it'll make Black life perfect?
So it seems to me that the people who are pushing this narrative, they haven't actually thought through their positions. They haven't had a very deep thought about what it means or what solutions they are ready to prefer. I mean, if you're saying it's racism, then what are your solutions? Barring racism, if you take the racism away, is it going to solve all your problems? And from what you said, it seems like they don't have an answer to that. But my question is, has the conversation always been like this? If not, where did this narrative come from and when did it start?
Well, I think it's always been there. That's another thing. If you follow me and my very selective tweets and the things that I write, that's kind of what I try to point out, because my message, so really most of what I do and say is very specifically targeted, which is why you will never see me really tweet about Rittenhouse or Ahmaud Arbery or George Floyd and all that stuff, because those things are all bad, but they're isolated incidents. I mean, there's always going to be crime. You don't tweet about others. I don't tweet about or write about Black on Black crime and those things. What I say was something happened recently, and I commented on it. Oh, I've been using this example. So the BLM guy in New York met with the incoming mayor of New York, and he had his list of demands. He came out after the meeting, said the meeting didn't go well. And so he said that there may be violence if they don't get their way. And most of the people left and right who wrote about it and commented on it all had the same different beliefs on it, but they were all talking about the same thing. They were talking about his comments and whether they were incendiary or whether they were bad or whether he meant them or not, and whether this was good or bad for the movement, all this kind of stuff. I said, no, you're missing the point. And it's tied to your question, because I said radicals have always been there. There's always been violent people. All that stuff is not new. What's different is, in the past, most of us, regardless of our politics or our beliefs, we dismissed the radicals. Even if we were on their side, he's a radical leftist and I'm a liberal, but I dismissed the radicals. If he's a radical on the right, I dismiss him. So my question when I saw this news story was, why did the incoming mayor of the largest city in the country take a meeting with a guy who went on national TV a few months ago and said, we'll burn the whole country down? See, in the past, that guy would never get a meeting with the mayor of New York. BLM would never. Now, they complained about their sit down as an organization, with Biden, and they were disappointed with the responses they got against Biden. And people on their side would say, yeah, they should have gotten more because we supported them. People on the right was like, aha, you didn't get what you wanted. I was thinking, why are they getting a sit down with the mayor, with the president of the United States? So it's kind of like that. The conversation has always been there, but the question is, why are people taking them seriously? So when they say, you know what, police officers disproportionately mistreat blacks, which I agree with, but then they go further, but they don't say, more likely to pull a gun, push them against a car, follow them. They say, shoot them, right? They are hunting them down, which most people, left or right, don't believe. But if we give them their argument and say, yes, I think police leave the precinct and say, find me a black person to shoot, what's the solution? And they say, defund the police. Now, I'm sure there's always been an anti-police, anti-militant, authoritarian strain in the country, but most normative people would just brush it off. Today, people are donating to them. So it's not their beliefs and their conversation that's changed, right? That's been there forever. I mean, I was talking to, we were doing an interview with Brian Kilmeade, and he has a book about Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, and he mentions them. And I always talk about this, and I think I put out a tweet saying that William Lloyd Garrison was the first anti-racist because he hated slavery. He was all out against it. He was fighting. He meets Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is a former slave. He's telling his story. They, bring him under his paper, and they're like this. They're tight, and they fell out because they both. One of the things they agree with beyond hating slavery is that slavery was evil. It was part of the country, and it's in the DNA, like the 1619 Project of America. We need to just tear up that Constitution. But as Frederick Douglass learned to read, and he evolved, and he studied, and he met people, he changed his view. And he was like, we need to change a lot of things, but the Constitution is perfect the way it is. It doesn't say anything about slavery, and we could change the country today and end slavery and never have to change the Constitution. Well, William Lloyd Garrison, keep in mind, Garrison's white, Frederick's black, and a former slave, said that he was a traitor because he liked the country. And it was like, how dare you say positive things about this country? And he stopped speaking to him. He was like, dude, I can't talk to you anymore because you're part of the problem. If you don't want to tear up the Constitution, you're as bad as a slaveholder. Get out of here. To the man who escaped slavery, right? So this conversation isn't new. I mean, everybody for a while now, he's gone into out of favor, and they want to tear stuff down. But for a while in the black community, Lincoln was great. Lincoln was the guy who freed the slaves. But most abolitionists hated Lincoln. They said he was moving too slow, right? It's like, come on, you just need to just sign an executive order and end this right way. It's like, it's a complicated political thing. I can't do that. So, I mean, you're talking 1860s at that point. So this stuff isn't new. It's the only thing that really changes is the way we react to it. And now we're in a situation where we're giving crazy people the keys to the government, and we're shocked by the response.